Before this video gets started, we would like to thank our partners at Reset Games for providing us with this game for our review, as well as Fifth Cell for the creation of this game. If you're looking for a place to buy, sell, or trade new and used games ranging from the NES to the Wii U, feel free to head up the annotation or the link in the description below. In the previous two reviews that I've personally done, I've noted a tendency to try out M-rated shooter games. So for my third review, I wanted to review something completely different. Yeah, like that. The Scribblenauts series has been around for a bit of time now. However, it had been mostly contained within the Nintendo DS console. However, with the advent of the Nintendo Wii U, Fifth Cell decided it was time to make the leap to a home console with the launch title Scribblenauts Unlimited, and would arm its protagonist Maxwell with an ever-increasing vocabulary, more interaction options, and the ability to create his own unique items. Is Maxwell ready to handle this brave new world, or should he have just stayed at home? Let's find out. Something that I should get out of the way now is the fact that this was my very first Scribblenauts game. However, according to research online, as far as the story is concerned, I really didn't miss anything at all. Scribblenauts Unlimited breaks new ground apparently in the series by being the first to have an established plot and backstory, as well as finally giving a reason for the player to collect the trademarked Starites. The plot focuses around the recurring major protagonist, Maxwell, and his sister, Lily. Their story begins when their parents bequeath to them two magic items, a notebook that has the ability to create anything written into it, and a globe that allowed them to teleport anywhere in the world. Over time, though, the children became spoiled with their gifts, so to rectify this, their parents decided to send them out into the world to have an adventure. Early into said adventure, though, they came across an old man begging for food. Maxwell and Lily decide to prank the old man and feed him a rotten apple. However, this infuriates the old man, who then curses Lily to slowly turn into stone as a punishment. When Maxwell returns to his parents, he is told the only way to break the curse was to perform good deeds and collect Starites as a result. Armed with his notebook and globe, Maxwell sets out again, this time on a mission to save his sister before she finally turns to stone. All said information is relayed to you within the introduction cutscene, giving the player an early understanding of what needs to be done. After the initial scene, though, the plot is delegated to simply a background item, something to keep the game going, basically. Beyond occasionally returning to Lily to drop off Starites and unlocking new areas, the plot really isn't brought up again until the very end when Lily's curse is eventually broken. In other games, this would be an issue. However, in the kind of game that Scribblenauts is, personally, I wouldn't consider the absence of a continuous presence of a plot to be particularly damaging. In fact, in some ways, the setup of the game keeps the plot from interfering too much with the puzzle-heavy gameplay, so I feel the plot was handled as well as it could be. As for characters, the aforementioned cutscenes are really all we see behavioral-wise from any of the characters. The predominant characterization is limited to Maxwell and Lily, as well as brief spots in their introduction for the parents. The introduction and ending scenes are both narrated by Lily, who gives us the sense of an educated and somewhat wise child. But beyond this, characters are limited in voice to simple grunts and emotional noises. There is no shortage of characters, though, as over the course of the game you will interact with Maxwell's 41 other siblings, ranging from a chef to a mobster to even Spaceman. However, we don't get much from the characters beyond their names, and even Maxwell doesn't give much input outside of the cutscenes. So if you're heavy into things like character development, the total absence of such, again beyond the two cutscenes, may hurt your experiences. At its core, the gameplay of Scribblenauts Unlimited is mostly unchanged from its two predecessors. The ultimate object of the game is to collect Starites, and Maxwell obtains these by solving puzzles that come in the form of either a character asking for something or particular scenarios. Scribblenauts Unlimited's world is split up into about 38 open world areas, each going along a specific theme or a specific location, like fire stations or hospitals, for example. In these areas, Maxwell has two different ways of collecting starites. He can either complete one or two self-contained missions, which involve multiple puzzles, but ultimately lead to a starite, or perform numerous single puzzles throughout the area to collect starite shards. The starite shard puzzles require only one solution, so they're typically easier. However, it does take 10 of them to make a full starite. Two other differences that exist between the two is that for missions, hints are provided after 30 and 60 seconds, but none are provided for the shard puzzles. And as far as failure goes, if Maxwell or an important person or item die during a mission, players are forced to start the entire thing over again. But since shards are in an open world, players can simply save and reset areas should a shard character die or get disabled. Shard characters are also a lot harder to find compared to missions, which are identifiable by a starite silhouette. However, the game has an optional viewing mode called Starite Vision, which allows players to easily pinpoint the shard characters. It is also possible to collect random starite shards from spawning certain items or eliciting certain interactions, which can also help out stretch out the playtime of the game, as well as getting you to think of truly interesting ways of solving problems. Or at the very least, it gets you to experiment with the game, which can also be very enjoyable. However, to even get starites, Maxwell has to solve the puzzles, which are done by creating or altering items to achieve a goal. By either selecting the notebook icon or selecting a character and choosing the Create an Object option, players are taken to a keyboard where they can type out a word which, if recognized by the game, will spawn the said item inside the game. I personally found the game to be quite diverse in available vocabulary, but I also did find a large number of words that were either not available or confused the program, so those with strong vocabulary will likely have a hit or miss with the creation of items. If an item alone doesn't cut it though, players can alter them further by adding an adjective. Such an option can allow players to, for say, turn huge boulders into tiny ones, giving a dog a nice scaly skin, or giving your freeze ray a nice golden finish. One thing that can fill in some holes though is the newly introduced Object Editor. Here players can take already available items and add to them or completely create new items, then assign them a specific word that, when saved into the program, can allow you to spawn them in the real world should you input them in the notebook. I personally didn't use this feature, however there are very fascinating scenes on the internet that people have been able to make, like, for one example, a real-life Arkham Asylum. And should you ever want to get things like Batman, the game also includes online sharing of custom creations, meaning you'll never be short of ideas. And as an added bonus for the Wii U version, players can also create certain Mario and Legend of Zelda characters, which can interact with the world themselves in unique ways. Keep in mind though that these characters and items cannot be edited on. Overall, I was impressed with how the notebook worked overall. Besides a few issues making certain things, it was very responsive and accurate, even asking for specification if two kinds of words exist, like for example, the money kind of coin and then the coin you see in Nintendo. Not to mention that due to the large vocabulary available, it is exceedingly easy to find hilarious solutions to a problem, something that was very evident as I played through the game during one of my recent live streams. Graphics-wise, Scribblenauts Unlimited sticks to its guns and continues its simplistic 2D paper storybook styling. Such a styling means that it cannot take full advantage of the Wii U's HDMI settings. However, this also means that Scribblenauts is the kind of game that you don't really need an HDMI cable to make it look good or appealing, which is a relatively common problem still in today's video games. Still, this particular item gives a sort of adorable and friendly atmosphere to it, while never really being explicitly kiddie. It's the kind of styling that a parent and their child could have fun playing with easily. As stated earlier, Scribblenauts Unlimited's world is composed of multiple modestly large areas, with some being directly interconnected to others, some ways like a hub world or others just as a progressive chain. Certain groups of levels will share one universal theme, like the city or prehistoric area, but all areas have a wide range of environments, never making it seem like the developers copy-pasted anything, or make it seem like just one long, boring road. And active and persistent characters in each area help sell the realisticness of each area. Other than this, there really isn't much more to say about the graphics of the game, and I don't really mean that in a bad way. The game stays true to its original styling and poses a very darling game as a result. In relation to music, Scribblenauts Unlimited's soundtrack is by far and large some of the most relaxing and comfortable music I have ever heard. Heck, the main theme of the game feels like the kind of song I can play and then fall asleep to if I was in a comfortable enough position. Most of the predominantly guitar-based music you will encounter in the game is rather low-key, serving more of an environmental purpose, but that doesn't diminish the quality of it at all. The music is ever-changing, but can always find a way to fit the theme of the area the player is in, and in fact, offhand, I can only really think of one song that appears late in the game that ever really overpowered the environment. You won't find any pulse-pounding beats in here like many other modern games, but Scribblenauts is the kind of game that you just play at a leisurely pace, exploring each environment and solving the puzzles within. So the peaceful tone of the music perfectly suits this game. So, should you buy Scribblenauts Unlimited or leave this particular puzzle unsolved? Given by the fact that the Wii U has a relatively small library still, and the fact that a lot more of the, quote, blockbuster, quote, titles from Nintendo are still down the road, this game would definitely be a great game to start out your collection. But even if you've already filled it out a bit, Scribblenauts should still deserve a place on your shelf. While this game may never wow you like, say, Batman Arkham City or any of the modern Legend of Zelda games, Scribblenauts Unlimited combines an adorable styling, soothing music, a responsive mechanic, and overall enjoyable gameplay into one great package. And since the Wii U library is still young, it's very easy to locate this game on shelves. If you don't have the Wii U though, you're in luck, because Scribblenauts Unlimited is also available on the Steam platform as well as Nintendo 3DS. However, keep in mind that the 3DS version lacks the object editor mechanic, so if that's a make or break issue for you, you'll have to go with either the Wii U or the PC version. I remember seeing in another review that if you had never played Scribblenauts before, that this would be the best game to dive into the series with. And at this point, I wholeheartedly agree. This has been Guy Christian 9 for CrystalStarStudio. I hope you enjoyed my review of Scribblenauts Unlimited. If you would like to discuss anything that I have said or didn't say, feel free to weigh in the comments section below. But for now, I think I'm gonna spawn some more monkeys.